Hello everyone and welcome to the middle of nowhere in beautiful, somewhat hot and sweaty Tennessee. I'm Chase, that is the 2024 Hyundai Santa Fe, and this is the Overrun. Okay, so let's talk design. Obviously this is aesthetically quite different from your regular three-row SUV. There's some high points, and there's also some stuff that looks a little Land Rover. Obviously the general three-quarter is definitely sort of a mix of Hyundai design and traditional boxy, rugged, outdoorsy SUV design, which you sort of can't do without landing on Land Rover to a degree. Now, starting at the front, you have this cool H lighting signature. It also runs the length of the car, but there's also the little HEDRLs, which is cool. There's some fake, maybe not fake vents. And then because this is the XRT trim, we get the nice Continental rubber, which is great, and the black wheels, which are super nice. And I don't know if this is specific to the XRT trim, but you do get this really cool matte bronze paint job. There's also tons of black accents on here for various reasons because of the trim. And then moving down the side, this is probably the coolest feature of the car, aesthetically at least, is this little handle. Now, Hyundai says the logic here is so that you can lift yourself up like that and also pop your wrist a little bit while you do it. I also don't really see the difference between just doing this. Frankly, the higher one is actually a little easier, but hey, it's there and it's nice. And moving around the back, we were told a lot about how nice and open that liftgate is, and the reason they were able to do that is because these LEDs are a lot lower, so your reverse lights, your tail lights, all of that is not on the side of the vehicle, it's actually below on the lower hatch segment. And of course, it rounds off as a box at the back. The rear wiper is hidden, which is, again, kind of Land Rover-y. But that's the design segment, and we'll talk a little bit more about my general impressions on how things look later in the video. So we are going to start our little interior segment here with the rear cargo space. Now, the big news here as compared to the previous Santa Fe, which is the only metric I have right now for reasons previously mentioned, is that this is significantly larger. It's about 2 inches longer than the previous Santa Fe, which of course goes directly to interior cabin space. Now, Hyundai tells us that they also spent a lot of effort on getting this opening here as big as they could. Now, that meant moving the tail lights down here off of the lift gate, as well as moving a few other things around to try and make sure that this opening is as big as possible for all of your stuff, your adventurous family needs. Now, this is also a three-row SUV, as you may have noticed, and you can pull on this little latch and put the seats up. They will also fold flat, as well as the second row, as I will demonstrate once I'm done wrestling this. And they drop pretty easily. There's a power switch over here, and you just have to, oh, it's already dropped, so we're gonna do this one. Everybody watch, wait, everybody watch. Ta-da! It's very easy. Unfortunately, it's just down and not up, so you have to go around and put them up and yell at your kids, etc. But it's still significantly more convenient than having to do it mechanically both ways. It is obviously completely flat back here though. It's extremely nice. I can get all the way back here with all of my stuff and even lie completely and totally flat. So it's pretty nice and big back here. There's also third row climate vents, which is a big deal, especially in 80-degree and humid Tennessee. I'm sure you can see that it's a little warm back here. There's also two cup holders. There's a 180 watt 12 volt right there. There's also a bit of underfloor storage here. Right here, and then your jack is over here. And that is pretty much it for the third row and the rear hatch, which by the way is also powered. Now let's start with getting the second row seats back up. As you might remember, I just dropped them. It's pretty easy. It's a latch right here. Let's pan down a little. It's pretty easy. It's a latch right here, right? And you just pull the latch and the seats come up. It's very easy. Now, talking of the seats, I'm sitting behind myself right now. We all know I'm a short king. I'm 5'6" on a good day, 5'7" if my hair is standing up, 5'8" if I'm talking to a pretty girl. Now, good room, right? Good room up here too. There's no real drop off in material qualities back here. There's some plastic, yes, but it's not terrible. I think that if you were a full-sized adult and not shrink wrapped like me, you could sit back here pretty comfortably for a while. There's even a little hook for some coats or bags, or I don't really know what else you would use that for. There is also some other great storage alternatives in here. There's two cup holders here. There's another deeper pocket down here in the door card. And this is probably the pièce de résistance back here. There's this little drawer right here. And then, alternatively, the center console actually hinges up so that I can get into the front center console compartment from the back seats. You can also just flip it the other way, which is very cool. And finally, there's also these little USB chargers right here, which you can use to charge stuff in the front or back. There's some nice charging opportunities here. On higher trim grades, you may have noticed me looking at the headliner. That's because there is no sunroof on this side. There is one here. You can get that on like the calligraphy model. There's a glass panoramic roof for the rear occupants as well. Okay, now let's talk about what it's like up front. There's a lot of things to like up here. For starters, there's that sunroof I mentioned, which we're gonna close to keep the sun out of my eyes. There's also this radio here. That doesn't come with the car though. There are 2 cup holders. They're really big. I have a good, strong feeling that they would pass the water bottle test. However, if it doesn't, there is some center console storage down here where there's some paper. As I mentioned, you can also get into the center console either way. We're just doing that again for Joby if he has to edit this. And all of your controls are located in this center stack. That means your climate controls and your media controls. Now, some of these are physical, some of these are not. A lot of the more menial climate controls that aren't temperature or fan speed are relegated to a touch screen. It responds okay, but it also collects fingerprints. We all know that I'm going to tell you that I much prefer physical climate controls. That is still the case. The reality is that it is a lot cheaper for a manufacturer to make it on a touch screen that will break and collect fingerprints and fade, etc. That said, it is what it is. It's still pretty usable. This one doesn't have the ventilated seats, which I'm really missing right now, but it does have heated seats. There's a heated steering wheel on some trims. It's pretty nice. The screen itself is one that we have all seen before. If you guys have watched our Kona Limited video, you'll recognize the screen. If you guys have watched our Ioniq 6 video, you'll recognize the screen. If you guys have been on the Overrun in any way before, you will have seen this screen arrangement. It is Hyundai's dual screen layout. There's a digital cluster in front of me here, and then a second screen as part of the same sort of piece of curved glass, that is for now wireless Android Auto and CarPlay and or your general miscellaneous interior functions. Now, there's also a pretty strange little gimmick in here. On the upper trims, like the calligraphy, there is a UV light cleaner for small personal items. So, for example, let's pretend, everybody, that this is a calligraphy trim. The button is right here. What you'll do is you'll take your cell phone out or your other dirty personal object, and you'll shove it, hold on, and you'll shove it in there. Oh, maybe sunglasses don't really fit, but I would like to clean them anyways. And then you close it. You have to close it. It's almost like getting an x-ray at the dentist's office, and then you push the button and it zaps all the germs off your things. And then you pull them out and you're nice and clean and healthy and revitalized and youthful and all of those other marketing words that were read to us at the press conference this morning. There's also 2 wireless chargers here on most trims. If you don't have wireless charging, there are also some USB panels. I mentioned this in the Kona video, but I'm going to mention this again. It's very clever that this USB port here can be toggled between data and charging and just charging. It's extremely nice. Now, let's talk about the wheel controls and the seat comfort. Both of these are really great. I think the wheel itself is a little too fat, but all of the controls are physical buttons, very legible, very easy to use. This is how you operate your gear selector, or you put it in park by pushing the button like that. All in all, it works very well. The seats are extremely comfortable. They hold up very well. My only real gripe about this interior space is the lack of ventilated seats for this specific XRT trim car and the touch climate controls. Other than that, it's very great. It's very well thought out, and I think they're gonna sell like hotcakes. Now, with that in mind, let's get to the driving impressions, because we have got a little bit of light off-roading for you. All right, you joined me climbing an extremely steep hill off-road with the 4-wheel drive locker engaged. We are just barely creeping up this hill, and I'm pretty impressed thus far with the light off-roading I've done in this thing. It's pretty darn great. It handles it very well. There's just a little bit more ground clearance in the XRT trim, like I mentioned, which is great for stuff like this. Do I feel like it could use more? Yes, of course. I feel like it could do with another inch of ground clearance to give me that added bit of confidence, especially because I do feel like I have to slow down for some of these other bumps. But off-road, the ride is relatively comfortable. These Continental all-terrain tires give me pretty decent grip. They're very chunky, and the steering is still communicative enough to let me know what's going on with the wheels, and, well, traction levels in general. Now, I've got four-wheel drive lock on. I still kind of feel like I could get up this without spinning the wheels too much with it off, but it's nice to know that it's there. The big thing to note is that there is no off-road specific drive mode in the XRT. Hyundai says that there is specific traction control logic for XRT models, which should make it a little easier to do stuff like this. And to give you an idea, I'm actually going to just pivot the camera around so that you guys can see what we're up against here while I narrate. Let's keep going. Now, of course, off-roading, none of this looks as steep as it is, but we're able to get along pretty well. There's not a ton of large rocks or obstacles, and I feel like you're probably going to spend a lot of your time off-roading in this, dodging stuff like that, simply because it is not able to handle it. There's just not enough ground clearance. There's not enough hang time between the front wheels and the bumper. The approach angles are middling. They're okay for the kind of soft-roading that you would want to do. Okay, all right. We are still off-road, but I'm going to go ahead and give you my on-road notes now, because it's just easier for me and I'm the one making the video. Now, let's talk about how the noise levels are, because one of the first things I noticed when getting in, they told us it was very quiet in the presentation this morning. We got on the highway and I heard a good bit of tire noise at 70-ish miles an hour. The highway speeds out here in Tennessee where we are a lot higher than you might think. And so as a result of that, I think that there's a little more tire noise. However, I'm happy to report around town, it's very quiet in here, it's very serene. You can play Hyundai's little sounds of nature thing if you want to make it even more zen in here. It's very nice. The seats hold up well. We've been driving for about 2.5, 3 hours in and out of the car. It's pretty darn good. The on-road behavior is really solid, largely because this isn't too wide. Hyundai says it's narrower than the Honda Passport, which is awesome. I feel like I have a little bit more room in the lane, which is super great. I don't have to like struggle to keep this thing in the lane like you do some large 3-row SUVs. The camera system is great, which means that maneuverability is pretty acceptable. The turning radius is okay. Now, the steering, while it does communicate some things off-road, is generally pretty dead when the surface is flat. It's just the nature of things. This is supposed to be a big, comfortable family car. And in that regard, I think that this is really great. I think that the 4-cylinder in here, the Turbo 4, delivers excellent power and torque for overtaking. It's reasonably efficient. The combined claimed EPA rating is like 23 miles per gallon. I think it'll hit that. What else is there to talk about? Oh, the 8-speed DCT. It's fantastic. It's really good. Every time I get in a Hyundai product, I'm really surprised that the transmission is as good as it is, because it really doesn't like need to be that good in this, the Hyundai Santa Fe carry your kids to soccer practice. But it is, and that's very nice. The adaptive cruise control and other driver assists work really well. Their steering recognition and it being able to pick up your hands on the wheel and correct for you and keep an eye on you, it feels significantly improved. I don't know how improved it is, but it feels a lot better than like the Santa Fe, or I'm sorry, the Santa Cruz that we were in last week. It feels like this is a very big step up, really just all around in terms of driving experience, NVH, infotainment quality, everything. This is really where I expect Hyundai product to be. And with that in mind, we're going to go ahead and get to the conclusion here. I'm going to give you some final notes and we're going to wrap this up. Okay, let's wrap this up. This is going to be a quick one. Like I said, Joby and I are going to try and get some time with this car in Colorado where we can more closely evaluate it with its competitors. For now, what this is a really big improvement over the previous generation Santa Fe, especially this XRT trim. Now, I was discussing with my co-driver a little bit earlier that what the XRT really needs is a surround view camera, especially for off-road work. It would be nice to be able to see where your wheels are a little bit better, and some ventilated seats. The H-Tex leather, fake plasticky stuff does get kind of sweaty. Now, all of that can be found in the calligraphy trim, but then you don't get the off-road tires and the lift and the special traction control software, which, near as I can tell, didn't really do much off-road. I guess it's nice to have, and really the big takeaway is that this has a locker. And with that in mind, we're going to wrap this one up. Thank you guys so much for watching. Please do make sure to hit that like button, that subscribe button. It sounds annoying, you hear it every time, but there's a really good reason for that, and it's because I get to keep doing this. So please, let me keep doing my job.